So, if you had tuned in to the video that we made earlier at lunchtime, you would have seen our conversation talking about the Vancouver Canucks and their start. It's been bad. Okay, maybe not bad. They're 500 right now, literally. They've got 2 points and 2 games played, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but considering the talent on the ice and considering the way that they're losing these games because they have lost twice, we had discussed all of this and more in the video earlier today, so you could check that out if you so please. But what I wanted to do in this video was talk about some of the latest with the Vancouver Canucks, talk about some of the news, talk about some of the changes, because there have indeed been changes with this hockey team. It's all coming to us via Jeff Patterson's Twitter account, but before we dive into that, I wanted to dive into this first tweet that he made last night. I probably should have included this in the last video, but we're talking about it now, so I apologize. J-Pat said this at 10 p.m. yesterday, that the Vancouver Canucks were dominant at home last season. They were also nearly untouchable when leading after 2. This is a new season, but they're 0-2 after scoring first and leading after 40 minutes in both games at home. And might I remind you that last year, the Vancouver Canucks went 30 games in a row winning after having the lead at the start of the third period? They were shutdown specialists last year, and it was very apparent. They would come out of the gate flying, they'd score goals, and then in the third period, they'd sit back and relax, just play some shutdown defensive hockey. Mind you, maybe it was easier to do that with Ian Cole and Nikita Zadorov in the lineup instead of Forbort and Desharnais. But the Vancouver Canucks had themselves a really stable and sufficient procedure in shutting things down. It worked. Last year, it was then. Now, it's completely different. They've blown 2 leads at the start of the third period and inevitably lost these games in a shootout in overtime. However, that was yesterday. Today is a new day. Let's continue on to Jeff Patterson's Twitter account and read some of the extra things that are going on with the Vancouver Canucks. Firstly, we have this update that Danton Heinen was wearing a green practice jersey alongside of Petey and DeBrusk, so it looks like we'll see some top 6 changes today. No line rushes yet. Now, we'll get into the line rushes as the video goes on, but I wanted to talk about Danton Heinen for a little bit. He's a very versatile guy. We had said this ever since the Vancouver Canucks signed him, that if they wanted to play him at fourth-line center, that would be okay. I mean, he's a really good player, so he'd be a great fourth-line center, but that might be punching a little bit below his weight class if he forced Danton Heinen to be in that spot. Having him in the top 6 as a winger is also an option because he is a 15-goal, 30-point capable guy, of course from Langley, BC, so there is a hometown connection there, and he did play for the Richmond Sockeyes too. Langley Eagles, Surrey Eagles, he's been everywhere in the Lower Mainland. So for a guy with this skill set, if you wanted to put him in the top 6, you probably could. He's good enough to do that. Let's continue here with JPat's Twitter account. The next update says that based on jersey colors alone, Nils Hoglander is with Miller and Besser today. That is another idea that I think is pretty reasonable to take a look at. Nils Hoglander did score for the Canucks yesterday. He was a very good player. I mean, really, thinking about the Canucks and what they have here, Nils Hoglander was kind of like this unicorn of an offensively capable guy who could score at will and do all this stuff at even strength, but his opportunities and his consistency wasn't necessarily there, and sometimes there would be plays where he would kind of fumble it a little bit, and that would take away some ice time, and then he'd play in the fourth line, and it was all over the place here. Not criticizing Rick Tocchet by the way he uses Nils Hoglander. I think it's very appropriate, especially for a guy who's as young as he is, but it is talked about here that he's now apparently being given a chance with Miller and Besser. No Garland, no Myers at Canucks practice, updates to follow. Okay, not that big of a deal. Connor Garland, it's the same thing that took him out of the last preseason game. And for Tyler Myers, of course, he ended up getting hurt yesterday, so he's not there. J-Pat then tweeted the D pairings without Myers. Not surprising in any way, but we have Hughes Hronik, Susie Desharnais, Forbort Juleson. It's not a good decor, honestly. Outside of Quinn Hughes and Philip Hronik, you're not really getting too much offense, and the bottom 4, I mean, a lot of these guys are big, they can hit, they're physical, but Desharnais, Forbort, Juleson, the foot speed isn't necessarily there. I wonder how these pairings are going to fit into the next few games here. There also were the regular forward lines posted by J-Pat here. DeBrusk, EP, Heinen, Hoglander, Miller, Besser, Suter, Bluger, Sherwood, Oman, Ratu, Sprong, Extra, Baines. I am curious to seeing how Daniel Sprong is going to fit on that fourth line. Nils Oman isn't necessarily the best player, and Ratu is still really young and inexperienced. So, if anything, Daniel Sprong is going to have to be the veteran guy on that trio of guys, and that means he's probably going to have to step it up a little bit. He hasn't necessarily been the best defensively so far, but he has had a few spurts of effort on the defensive end, so he's trying. He's not perfect, nor do I think he'll ever be perfect, but he wasn't terrible. But now, playing with Ratu and Oman, two guys who can play pretty okay defensively in their own right, I wonder where exactly this line is going to go. Bluger with Suter and Sherwood, it's just kind of the extra guys getting tossed in there. If you had Joshua and Garland in here, you would have them as the wingers for Bluger instead, and Oman and Ratu probably get moved out of the lineup. Suter plays center on the fourth line, so the Canucks still aren't capable of showing their best lineup on the ice here. Connor Garland, of course, missing out on practice is just a precaution, as was talked about here by J-Pat a little bit later on. But once Garland does return, I do wonder who exits the lineup. Is it going to be Nils Oman? Is it going to be Ratu? I mean, Garland is a winger, so maybe it's Oman? Who really knows? If they want to keep Ratu in center, then okay, we'll see what happens there. Some extra thoughts here from J-Pat. Elias Pettersson stayed out late at the end of practice after most Canucks ended up leaving. He's working on battle drills with Artyom Baines and assistant coach Yogi Sveshkovsky. So, good on Pettersson. Nice to see him actually participating in his own thing and working on his own strengths and skills. I mean, if he's got battle drills with Artyom Baines, I think that he's probably finding a way to win those, but still, any practice is okay. Rick Tocchet says Tyler Myers is day-to-day. He will travel with the team. Myers was in pain last night, but figures that he had dodged a bullet. Connor Garland was also given a day off out of precaution. It's the same issue that kept him out of the final preseason game. Tocchet said the team just wanted him to take 2 full days off. So, okay, interesting. Tyler Myers day-to-day. He's not, out for a while. That is really good news. I thought that Myers, from the way that he was hobbling and the way he went down and how he looked after he got taken out, I thought that he was going to be out for, multiple weeks with something. Day-to-day, though. Maybe he did dodge a bullet. That's awesome. Great update here from Rick Tocchet. There also was another image here posted by J-Pat long after practice. It's just Elias Pettersson and Sveshkovsky with the rink to themselves. So who knows what EP40 is going out there and talking about, but either way, it seems like some extra things are being discussed here with the top Vancouver Canucks paid player and the assistant coach. Sveshkovsky has been doing a good job just kind of doing his thing over the years, so it's nice to see him be a part of the Vancouver Canucks organization in this kind of a capacity. But either way, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about J-Pat's Twitter account, all the stuff that we had read about here, how Daniel Sprong has gotten moved to a line with Ratu and Oman, how it's Nils Hoglander with Miller and Besser, how Danton Heinen is getting that chance with Elias Pettersson and Jake DeBrusk, the 2 Boston guys, and Petey. Nice. What are your thoughts on Tyler Myers and the injury updates and Elias Pettersson staying out late to do some extra practice work? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.